Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It is your girl, Marcy Thomas, and I am so excited to be back with you for another episode of Live Well Sister. Now, of course, if you're watching this in real time, this is a little bit earlier in the day than we're normally here, but we have an extra special guest who's over in the motherland, so we wanted to make sure that we made time for her to come when it wouldn't be in the middle of the night for her. So thank you to everyone who's able to join here live for a morning break or a lunchtime break, and I'm really excited to get into this conversation. So I am coming to you from the outskirts of Atlanta, Georgia, originally from Cleveland, Ohio, and I've lived a whole bunch of other places in between. But one of the things over the years has become important to me is figuring out what it means to live well, which is why this show is called Live Well Sister. And so one of the pillars in that, if you saw the beginning, is how we deal with money or what our financial literacy and all those things are, because I heard someone say not too long ago that when the money is right, it kind of helps and supports all those other areas in a variety of ways. So I want to really dive into this conversation with this young lady that I have been aware of for a while, have been following for a while, have her book, and we're going to have a really important conversation. So if there's somebody you can share this out with, go ahead and share this out. Or even if they can't join us live, make sure they get access to this conversation. So we're going to be talking about Heal Your Relationship. Make sure the light's right. Heal Your Relationship with Money, written by Cara Stevens. Now, she believes that every woman is a revolution unto herself. She writes self-help books that inspire women to get right and tight with their passions, finances, and relationships. Her sound but relatable money and life advice has been featured in numerous online and print publications, including Women's Day, Yahoo Finance, Black Enterprise, and the Huffington Post. She is also the founder of The Frugal Feminista, which is a blog born of deep space of love, advocacy, and joy, grounded in understanding the brilliance of Black women and the role money can play in helping them to live life on their own terms, which is what I just said without even reading that. So without any further delay, I want to welcome Cara Stevens, coming to us from Ghana for the first time and hopefully not the last. Welcome, Cara.
Thank you so much, Marcy. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
I'm from New York, though, originally.
From New York? Okay. All right. Yes, because I'm like, well, you definitely don't have a Ghanaian accent. But yes, thank you so much for taking time out of your days. I know it's later in the day there, so I appreciate you for being here. So first and foremost, I just want to thank you for the work that you do, because it's just so important for all of us. And to understand finances, have a relationship with our finances, just to really be able to be the best that we can be. So I appreciate all the work that you do in that regard.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you again for even making this space to amplify our voices, because without Black media, Black authors, it makes it much easier for us to connect with our communities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to start out first by just, just a general thought. We talked about this a little bit before we came on. Heal your relationship with money. I know some people might see that or hear that and think like, what in the world? I don't have a relationship with money. Like, yeah, you absolutely do. So when you talk about having a relationship with money, what is it that you mean? Just like an overarching idea of what that means.
Mm-hmm. Just like if I were to ask you to give me three words to describe an ex lover or an ex partner, what would you say? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of you may say he might have been the one that got away, or she might have been the one that got away, or woo, thank God I'm not part of that, or
Right.
toxic, things like that. Anything in between. The same thing. If I were to ask you, when you think about money, what three words or feelings come to mind? A lot of us may say fearful, may say, I don't want to talk about it. Or they may say phrases like, I was taught that women don't talk about money, or gold
Mhm.
digger. Like all these different terms and associations that come up when we hear the word money.
Right.
So we can then kind of backtrack that to say, well, that's your relationship with money, because more than likely there are memories, whether it be ones that you've created or ones that you have been, say, a secondary character in because of your parents, because we talked a little bit
Mhm.
about this, institutions that you were a part of, that gave you particular teachings about money that you internalized and possibly never really reframed or reflected on. And
Mhm.
so when I say relationship with money, that's what I mean. You have feelings, thoughts that may be unexamined or examined, and critiqued or uncritiqued about what you think money is and what you think it isn't. And then that guides your decisions with what you do or don't do with money.
I love that. And that is so good. And just for anyone who's watching, if you're here live and you have a question or a comment, please feel free to jump in and put them so we can see them, because we want this to be a community conversation. I understand some people might be working, might not be able to, but if you can, please do, just so we can hear or bring your voices into the room as well. But I love
Mhm.
what you just said about that whole thing of relationship, because well, yeah, the one that got away, yeah, the money that got away, or
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. It makes sense when you position it in that way. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have this conversation, and thankfully it aligned to do it like right now at the beginning of the year, when people set a lot of goals and they have a lot of ideas. I'm going to save more this year, or I'm going to make more this year, or whatever the case may be. But what I said to you before we came on is I think that we can have all of these goals or plans, but if some things in our mind aren't right about what money really means to us, it can provide challenges with us trying to make those changes.
Oh, for sure. I think that every time we create a goal around money, I think it's important for us to also think about the feelings around that goal as well. So, for some of us that say that we want to save money, but have had a pattern of saving but not maintaining, or saving to the point of hoarding and not enjoying, we can begin to see that with that particular goal, there are still some feelings that we have to unpack to make sure that how we save with confidence, with the steadiness, with consistency, are also attached to the actions that come with it, which are also rooted in the beliefs and the feelings that we have about our ability to achieve that goal. And I think that what's the kind of society that we are in now, like back in my mom's time, there was no such thing as like talking about your feelings. Like, what was that?
Right, right, exactly.
But now we're more in touch with what are my thoughts and feelings about this, but also we're in touch with the ability to reframe those things when we see that they no longer serve us. So for the person that wants to go super hard on saving, or someone who's afraid of saving, or someone who believes that debt is just part of their normal, they can unpack that belief and say, well, where did I get that idea from? Does that have to be the idea that I want to have, especially if my goals are counter what that belief is? And I think that's where the rub is if what I believe and what I want, are they congruent? If they're not
Right.
congruent, then we have to look at the gap, and in that gap it's going to be beliefs and feelings about that thing. And that's where you get to the juicy stuff of like,
Right.
wow, once I begin to align everything, the systems and the sustainability are super easy, because
Hmm.
the biggest piece is the mind, is aligning your mindset with the things that you actually believe and want to obtain.
I love that. And, as I said, this applies to many things, whether it's
Mhm.
a weight loss goal
Yeah.
or, getting a new job, whatever it
Yeah.
is. It's the mindset that really assists in all those ways.
Mhm.
So just before we get into like the layout of the book, I just want to know a
Mhm.
little bit of your money story. You do talk about it in the book, but
Mhm.
just for those who haven't had a chance to read it yet, and just a little bit about you. So how you even came to this work and what a little bit of
Yeah.
your money story is.
I wrote this book, I think, in 2018, and there's been so many other chapters that have been
Right.
added to my money story. But I'll start with the beginning chapters, which I call the inherited chapters. The inherited chapters really started my mom and her relationship with my father,
Mm,
and their relationship ending in a separation. And my parents were from Antigua, in the Caribbean, and they were going to have their African American, wealth journey as
mm,
immigrants. And instead of that, my father up and left us, left her with two kids to raise by herself in New York in the 1980s. And he went to be a Rolling Stone back in Antigua,
mhm.
right? And what that did, it devastated her and made her cling to everything, especially things when she felt that she had a loss on. And
Right.
that meant to her, he was going to be a doctor. He became a doctor. She was going to
Mhm.
be a nurse. So they were going to do like their equivalent of the Huxtables in a way. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And he snatched that dream from her in
Mm,
her narrative.
right,
And what that did, it devastated her and it made her hold on to everything. Everything was too expensive.
mhm,
Risking anything was too expensive. Risking your heart, risking money. And what that taught me as her only daughter, and she was giving me life and love and money advice along the way, is that you
right,
are not to trust anybody, not to trust anybody with your heart, not to trust anybody with your money. And you had to be self-reliant. So she was
mm,
building a Black woman out of brick,
right,
from the ground up. I trusted nobody. I was self-sufficient. I was steely. I was hard. But at the same time, there was another part of me that wasn't touched by that story, that knew that I wanted love and support. And so I had to reconcile a mindset of don't trust anybody with your money, your heart, or your money, but this deeper understanding that love is what we all need and support is what we all need.
right.
I had to I had to confront those two very, very difficult stories, very different stories. And so
Mhm,
I realized that I had listened to her for a long part of my life into my 20s and 30s, where even my then boyfriend, I remember specifically part of my money story was realizing that we had been dating for like maybe 6 to 10 months. And we were pretty serious at that time, and taking a trip from New York to DC to visit some friends and stopping at the pit stops for like gas. And he asked to
mhm.
borrow my credit card. And he saw the panic on my face.
Yeah, I had a
And
look
you
on
know
my
what it
face.
was, right? But let me tell you this. Let me tell you about the 10 months before. I hadn't had to lift a finger financially for anything.
Okay. Mhm, mhm.
So I couldn't I couldn't disconnect the data from my life from the
Right,
data of my mother's life.
right.
And in
Makes
that
sense.
moment, I had to make a decision. But before I made a decision, I had to realize what was happening. I was not having a conversation with my then boyfriend. I was having a conversation as to what I thought my mom would be having with my father. So in that moment, I was
Mm,
not me. And
right,
my then boyfriend, who's now my husband, was not him. That was my father, and I was my mother. And I was recreating. This is how it starts. This is how they start. All these things, all the stories that she had told me, other than that, my guy left his wallet. I trust him,
mhm,
right? And he showed me no other way other than being truthful. And
right,
I think the way the universe works, or you call it whatever, is that if I didn't get that lesson then, I would have gotten it another time. But luckily, I got that lesson then. And
right,
my husband, or my then boyfriend, was like, he saw my face. He's like, Kara, listen, you got to stop thinking like that. I'm not out to get your money.
right,
Right?
right,
He said it. He named it for me. You got to stop thinking like that.
right, right,
And so that's a huge part of the money story that I I share as part of how our inherited money stories, the things that we were taught and trained for people who cared about us and were doing the best that they can, their
right.
stories taking up way too many chapters in our own stories if we do not examine them. right? And so that was a huge part of my larger learning of what it meant to heal my relationship with money, because by that time I was exceptionally credentialed, as many Black women in America are,
Right.
right? Degrees upon degrees, right,
Right.
Marcy? Like degrees upon
Right.
degrees. I was fearful and I was scared,
Mm.
and all those things. And I wanted to be loved and to have love, but I had this crater of a mindset and belief system that was holding me back. So I had to get some help. So I started going to therapy.
Oh, that's good.
And therapy just in general, because what was happening in one area of my life, it was happening in other. I was an assistant principal at that time. I felt I had to get, it was just the most. I had the biggest breakdown, I think in 2012. And it was very necessary for me because of all the beliefs I had felt that Black women couldn't have joy. I
Right.
had to be against the world.
Right.
It was just too much. And I realized that looking at the women around me, I did not want to have any of their lives.
Come
Some of
on
them
now.
were happy and miserable. Someone had no money and miserable. I couldn't find anyone that was happy. So I was like, okay, I gotta create my own paradigm because clearly something.
Mm.
So therapy got me into a position to examine, well, what do I believe outside of my people pleasing? Because I was my mom's only daughter and her
Right.
youngest child, and very much her confidant, and her companion with the absence of my father. So all that to say, those are the early parts of my money story. And the better parts of my money story, the more healed parts of my money story, were getting out of student loan debt and then realizing that even though the numbers were at zero, I still had anxiety that I had to deal
Mm.
with because of all this belief of like, never take risks, never do things that you want to do because the money won't be there. You had to hoard money. You always had to save for a rainy day. And I thought, when do I get to have fun if I'm doing everything right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
so, right. And so those are the next parts of the money story that got me to be like, okay, Kara, I can have trust and confidence in my ability to save, invest, eliminate debt. I can have trust in my ability to know that even if those things aren't there, I'll be able to replace them. And that was
Yeah.
a huge mindset, I guess, brick that I needed to be
Mm-hmm.
able to take the leap to do things that were not just safe, but things that I enjoyed. Hence, the last chapters have me, my husband and I thinking about during the pandemic, is this what we want? We were living in a small place in New York. Our daughter couldn't play because the walls were so thin. And we had people, and we live in a co-op, and people next door were banging because my daughter wanted to play. Is this the kind of life that we wanted to have? I was an assistant principal. There were just so many things. Like I had done all the things that I was supposed to do, and I still wasn't happy. What did I want to do? And I had to remember, before all these stories, I loved adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to see what was out there in the world. I was traveling in my 20s. And so my husband is from Ghana. And he's like, well, we can go back to Ghana. And I was like, let's do it. You know what I mean? Let's do it. So then, but by that time I had also, I'm still a numbers girly. So I was like, let me make the numbers work. And then that had a lot, but if I didn't have the mindset to be like, I can replace whatever I lose, or what is there to lose, I would still be in a place that I didn't want to be, shackled to a place that I had outgrown and feeling quite resentful.
Mm.
And looking at other people probably more judgmental way about like, why are they kind of happy? Sometimes people like, why are you so happy? I'm like, well, dang, why can't I be? I trace it back to this idea that it was a relationship with money, but money in that sense represented security. It represented conformity. It represented lack of freedom, and an inability to kind of live life on my own terms if I didn't heal that aspect of it. And then the practical part is like, are you doing all the things that will allow you to sustain it? Because it's one thing to say, I have the mindset, girl, but I was like, I'm also a numbers person. Like, well, where are the numbers? Where's it saying it in your budget? Like, where's the longevity of this dream that you have? Because you deserve to sustain it.
Right.
Like, why not you? And so that's where the two parts come into. And I'll say the last, this is a long ass, sorry, I'm saying long ass.
That's okay. It's all right. You can say whatever you want to say.
I would say the last part of this relationship with money, the journey to it, is having lost my father last year,
Sorry to hear that.
and the experience of losing him and dealing with an estate that wasn't in order, and dealing with the
Mm-hmm.
consequences of managing and dealing with the legalities of it right now in court. So all of those chapters really have fully made me convicted that a healed relationship with money can be one of the most important tools that you can have to weather the storms of life's ups and downs, while still offering you the chance to enjoy the best parts of it as well.
I love that. And it's okay that it was long because it
Yeah.
gave us insight into who you are
Yeah.
and, the work that you do. And it also, for anyone who reads the book or works with you, and
Yeah.
we'll talk a little bit about that at the end, that they know that you're not just someone who's coming like off on sitting on this high horse and that you haven't, experienced any of these
Right.
things for yourself. So I think it's so important that you told that story. But I mean, there's a lot of nuggets I could pull out of there, but I do want
Right.
to talk about the book some.
Yeah. Yeah.
One
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
really stood out to me is the whole thing of you defining for yourself and you looking at what's happening around you and realizing that a lot of times what people are showing you isn't necessarily the thing that's going to make you happy. And it's okay to make your own choice, and you don't have to emulate and do things the ways that everybody else is doing it, whether it's your family or your peers or your coworkers or whatever, that you get to decide. And I really love that.
Yeah, I think that Black people and Black women, by extension, are some of the most brand loyal communities, and I
Hmm.
think it is to a fault. And I liken that to how we cling to traditions that don't serve us, though there's evidence in our family that, Auntie, that's not working. And
Right.
the idea that you would push back is sometimes taken with a great offense, because for
Hmm.
some reason your growth is speaking to their lack of growth, when it's
Right.
just, we are not one. We are part of the same community, but we're individuals within it. And I think
Right.
it can be, especially for if you identify as like a girl's girl, or you're part of the community, part of the pillar, there's a sense of comfort in the conformity of it all. But
Mm.
wanting to do something different, you have to remember that you deserve the life that you design. Like it, like
Right.
if we're talking about any type of spirituality, we're talking about just any type of self-reliance, it's not up for debate what's in your
Right.
head.
Right.
It's not up
Right.
for debate. And I
Mm.
think that once we begin to unlock that part of our higher self, or our connection with someone that gives us that reminder, um, we're in a better position to have both material and spiritual wealth.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So, heal your relationship with money. This is work that you have done personally, and now
Mhm.
as a part of your frugal feminista community and all of that, and the broader community that gets access to this book,
Mhm.
you are really teaching us how to work through that. The what should I say the tagline, understand your money, why, let go of
Mhm.
past financial dysfunction and make peace with your money life in just 28 days. So for
Mhm.
most of the rest of this time, I just want to kind of talk through some of the things in the
Mhm.
book because
Sure.
first of all, I love the 28 days. I love the 4 weeks. So anybody, if you're looking at this and it's, if you decide that February Black History Month, which is sounds good to me. If you
Mhm.
pick up a copy of this book and want to work on this during Black History Month, that would be a perfect thing to do. But in this book, each week you teach us how to deal with different aspects of money and our relationship with money. And one you kind of already tapped into, and that is the first week is talking about our financial past. And one of the things in that particular area, you're talking about emotions about money because money can make us feel some things. It can make it feel good. It can make it feel bad, make us feel bad.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that yeah, I mean, based on what we've talked about already, money sometimes serves as a proxy for so many things: love, security, belonging, power. And I think when we're able to see what it represents to us based on what we've been taught, we can then decide what it really is. Because hopefully, we begin to see when we have, even in the process of healing, we begin to see of it more as a tool rather than identity.
Right.
That, you have wealth and that it allows you to have, say, options, but it does not, in a lot of cases, it cannot buy you love. So
Right.
allowing money to do what it does well and not confusing its job description, right? Like a plumber
Love
does what a
that.
plumber does, an electrician does what an electrician does. Don't be asking an electrician to be a plumber and vice versa, because that's when we get it all mixed up. So I
Right.
think that week one is just making sure that you understand why you think the way you think about money, and that there's another way to think about it. And then week two kind of jumps into how do I begin to amplify that new voice now that I've tapped into understanding outside of the noise of what my parents taught me, maybe my church taught me, my school taught me, music taught me, and media taught me. What do I believe?
Well,
What
I
do I
believe.
believe? How can I turn the volume up on that? So that's
Right.
week two.
I love that. And now you talk about giving your money a name and a voice. I found that
Mm-hmm.
concept pretty interesting. So,
Mm-hmm.
not just cash or dollars or, cheddar or
Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Right,
the
right.
community calls it at large. But once you're starting to figure some things out about money, that you give it a name. So, what do you mean
Yeah.
by that?
Yeah. So there's so many studies that show that, say, so I'll talk about naming. So when you name something, you give it life, right? It has more of a connection to you. So even if you were to name your account, instead of like count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it would be like Marcy's get out of this job fund. Look, you smiling already, so you'd be more likely to double tap on that. You put more money in there. Or it's like make my oasis, like your bathroom oasis fund, or
Mm-hmm.
let me move out of, say you say in Atlanta, let me, move into Cali fund, like,
Mm-hmm.
or shenanigans with the girls fund. You're more likely to feel good and connected to that goal because you
Right.
can visualize the fun, you can
Right.
visualize the payoff. And so studies show that when you name something, especially an account, not only do you put in money more often, you put in more money. So you're
Mm-hmm.
more likely to reach a goal because there's something that really, money is now integrated into your life,
Right.
right? And also, just like even naming your cash, can also humanize your mistakes and
Mm-hmm.
celebrate your wins in a way, like, like if you named your cash, like say Cynthia, like, hey Cyn, like, I had you out there in the streets today, you know what I mean, tomorrow I'm gonna do better, you know what I mean. It
Right.
allows you to lighten the mistakes while still taking accountability and giving yourself grace and know that there's another day, and so I think we have, especially if money is not a topic or a container that is your strength, we need to use all tools at our disposal to
Right.
make it easy for us to enter into. Who says it has to be stuffy, right? If you
Right.
want to name her, you name your cat, you name your dog, do you know what I
Right.
mean? Like,
Plants,
name
you
the
name them, whatever.
Name the plants. Like, it helps you build a better connection. You may have more respect for Cynthia now. You may want to like have her stay with her cousins, keep her warm, make her grow, because you
Mm,
have a deeper relationship with her. And I think those are some of the basic reasons why naming it makes it fun, and makes it a sustainable practice and
mhm,
an easy runway to getting into the world of money.
mhm. I love that. And you mentioned grace. One of the other
Mhm.
things in like in the at the end of the first week specifically,
Mhm.
talking about forgiving yourself, having grace for yourself, and maybe things that you've done in the past or things that other people have taught you, to even get you to a point where you can name your money and
Yeah.
name it in a
Yeah.
way that's positive.
Right. Yeah, I think that for the women that are watching, if grace has been hard for you to give yourself, it's probably because you've never been taught to give grace.
Mhm.
Like, mistakes are final, mistakes are a reflection of your personal failure instead of systems or lack of knowledge or lack of education. And I don't believe I believe in second, third, and fourth chances when it comes to something that is going to be a lifelong companion, and money's not going
Absolutely.
away,
Right.
right? So
Right.
it serves nobody to have such uh, a hard line or rigidity to managing money when you make mistakes, because we all make mistakes. And I think that we don't offer ourselves a beginner's mindset when it comes to something we're a beginner at, which is kind of wild to me. Like you expect, um, advanced level behaviors for someone who's been avoiding money for a long time. Make
Mm,
that make sense.
right. Right.
Make that make sense. It doesn't. So let's not do that. And let's kind of think about, where does grace play a key role in helping me get on the on ramp? And then we'll know when we're not offering grace, when we're offering excuses. You know when you're doing it,
Right. Right.
and it's not, and because some people say, well, that's going to let you just do whatever you want. No, it doesn't.
Mhm.
No, it doesn't. Grace allows you to start again. Accountability allows you to know that, you could have done something differently or even something better. And then grace allows you another chance to do so, right? The
Mm,
two come together.
yes, I love that so much. Another chance to do something differently.
Mm-hmm.
All and we touched on chapter 2 a little bit already, but in that place we're like finding our financial voice and listening to that voice. But one of the things
Mm-hmm.
that really stood out to me in that week or week 2 is talking about identifying what your core values are and how the money and the way that you spend money aligns to your core values, or does
Mm-hmm.
it not align to
Right.
your core values?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I love that exercise, and even when I do it, like with conferences or retreats, I always ask people, "Girl, what are your values?" And we can tell our values from A to Z, 1, 2, and 3. And I said, "Okay, cool, cool, cool. So, let's open up your bank account and see like your debit card. Let's see the last, just the month's transactions, and
Right,
label them for me." And
right.
that activity is like, Kara, you reading me for filth. And I was like, I'm only here to offer you a mirror, right? And I had to do the same thing for myself. And what it does, it just turns us on and makes us a little bit more proactive. Like, if I like to travel, then why isn't my savings going to travel? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm here at CVS or whatever, store, getting A, B, and C, D, and F products that I haven't used. That's accountability, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's add it up. That could have been $100 for a staycation at a hotel that you need to get away, versus these things that maybe because you're feeling lonely or you're feeling bored that we purchase. And
Right,
that's where the healing comes from, is honesty.
right.
Right. So when I ask about core values, I was doing it for a while. I was just like, I say I want health and fitness, but honestly, Marcy, I was going through McDonald's drive-through, and it was like to the point where the people knew my order, right?
Oh,
Right.
I'm
I
reading for
mean,
filth. Like now, we're like,
right.
let's continue this conversation
Right.
right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. No, but seriously, I think when we don't take it too seriously, it's like, yeah, it's true. I say these are my values, but this is how I'm living them. Now, what is in the way? Then there's an interesting conversation. Well, girl, I'm stressed. I have not been packing my lunch. I have been, working and not taking a break during lunch. So me and, say Deshaun from McDonald's at 12 o'clock knows my order because I
Mm,
haven't prepared the night before. That's an
right,
honest assessment and a critique, not a personal judgment. What are we
right.
going to do the night before? And I think that is where that activity helps you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I say I want freedom, but then I'm so afraid to build up a business or do the things I need to do to build up a business to actually leave this job I say I hate or find a new one. Right? So the
Mm,
response to not liking a job is not quitting and
right,
working for yourself, could be getting another one, right? Or taking a break. But you
right.
say that you want those things, but how are your actions supporting it? And that's the question of that chapter in a lot of ways. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's you read people fulfill for a while, but that's sometimes that opening for them to be like, I got it. I got
Mm-hmm.
it. And then
Mm-hmm.
from there, they're like, okay, Kara's not gonna come for me again. And it's always in love. But I do the same thing to myself. Every once in a while, I'm like,
Right,
I say, why am I such in a bad mood? I'm not aligning my stuff to my values. Go into
right.
your closet. You say, are you living for the Joneses or are you living for yourself? Like, you may realize you're not a bag girl or a nail girl or a makeup girl or a skincare girl or a matcha girly or a Pilates girly. But those
Mhm.
are the things you thought were all the accoutrement to display soft living or wealth. When you're a regular jeans and t-shirt and you
Right,
just read like movies and books, that is your joy. Then go and go off, sis, because that's what you should be doing. And so
right,
I think it's a helpful tool just to help you realize that I got one life.
right,
And it's going to be a tool that's going to help me improve my quality of life or kind of keep me from that quality of life. And it's really up to me,
right.
especially now that I know I can.
Yes, you can. You definitely can. But yes, that really stood out to me. And, I've read through everything and I'm going to go
Mhm,
back through everything
mhm,
because that values part. And I mean, you kind of hit it on the head
mhm,
on the nail for me. I
mhm,
really
mhm,
do enjoy traveling.
mhm,
And so it's like, okay, there are some things. Yeah, I got stuff around the house, and maybe I don't
mhm,
need as much of this stuff around the house, especially when, my mom and I were having a conversation a few days ago. It's like, I have some stuff that I've never used. Like I'll give you a good example. Like, oh, well, there's this supplement or this, and you go and
mhm.
buy it. It sounds good. You get caught up in it. And then you realize, oh, shoot, this sat here so long. Now it's expired,
Right.
and giving myself grace to say, because first I was like, oh, I wasted that money. Be like, no, I'm not gonna say I
Right.
wasted the money.
Yeah.
It's a lesson learned. But now,
Exactly.
so there's some things that I have made the decision that okay, I'm not just gonna buy this, that, and the other. I'm gonna find one or two things that are gonna work for me to help me reach my goals and not be moved by the latest, the greatest. Because there's, marketing is
It's
coming at us
hard.
time and
It
it's
is.
hard, but that's a part of making the decision that aligns with your values. So maybe if I'm not buying 50, 11 different supplements, that's that money I could put away for that staycation
It
or that
is.
vacation.
Yeah.
So just really thinking about that. So I love that you include that in the book.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I love that. I think that it's really, and I think that each decade or whatever season you're in, it introduces you to different parts of yourself
Right,
and ways in which money can help you align with that particular value too. So
absolutely.
you may be a staycation or international travel woman right now, and then you may realize that I really want to garden, and stay in one place, and then you're going to see a shift in your finances that way, and that makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, along with having your values and aligning your spending with your to those values, in the next week or week chapter 3, talk about identifying beliefs and habits that align with that new mindset. So, I guess what we just talked about was a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Um, but in there, it's like tracking spending and saving. And like
Hmm.
in the latter half of the book, you talk a lot about people who are either overspenders are over savers.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't. I think the majority. I think I was over saver in a lot of ways because I was just had this scarcity mindset of like, if you don't save $20 from $30, or it's the end of the world. So I think there needs to be two sets of financial advice for those of us that tend to err on the side of fear and those of us that tend to be in denial about the realities of our spending.
Mm,
I do not think that people who tend to be over. So let me just step back a bit. I think that systems that work for people who tend to say underspend or like not really enjoy their money,
right.
they may not be the best person to have tracking money all the time because their
Mm,
moods may swing up and down based on that. I think
mhm,
that having them understand their net worth in totality and realizing that the purchase of a large versus a small is not going to bankrupt them
right.
is a question that they should ask themselves. On the
Mm,
other hand, someone that is just like, I know I got it, the Lord got me or the universe got me. Actually, let's actually create a line in your budget that allows you to spend freely up to a certain point,
I
so it
like
doesn't jeopardize your financial future. So those people may be reluctant to track. So if tracking isn't the first isn't the first strategy that they may be drawn to. Giving them a budget that feels spacious
Mm-hmm.
may be the next place that they can go to ensure that they can have fun without
Mm-hmm.
jeopardizing their future goals or their other goals that are trying to be achieved at the same time. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that it's important for you to identify, once you're in those groups, what is money to you, as your relationship with money with that, because oversavers or people who tend to underspend have a fearful relationship that
Mm-hmm.
it's never going to come back,
Right.
or
Right.
that, or I don't need anything. I was taught that not needing or being, say, low maintenance is something good, instead of really listening to, like, what is it do you actually have and what are you going to do with the money.
Right.
Like, money has several purposes, one of which is to save, but one of which is you save some money to spend
Right.
and to enjoy, and that
Right.
is okay. And on the other hand, the overspender is, what are the other purposes of money besides spending it?
Right, right. Because I'm thinking of, I'm just in my head, I'm thinking like someone who might be, and some people would say you can never oversave, but I guess if it's might be the mindset that's tied to why you're doing it, what the reason for doing it is, because the reality of it is for a lot of us, and this audience is primarily Black women, just
Mm-hmm.
thinking about, okay, maybe for the person who doesn't make a lot of money, so they're putting aside because they're thinking, okay, when I get to a certain age, I don't want to have to work as hard, those sorts of things. So to them, putting as much as they can aside, they may have a different mindset about that. There may be somebody
Yeah.
who has more.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's things like, delayed gratification without
Gotcha.
any reward. Two,
Gotcha.
it's like doing things that actually are like penny wise and kind of pound foolish. So using expired food,
Mm.
or things like that people
Gotcha.
who may go to the extreme. But even things that may not seem as extreme, like, you can have more than two bras, sis, it's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like,
You need
and
more
you
than
don't
two.
have, and rather than get the ones that are cheaper, you may want to have, if you're only going to have two, have good two quality ones that you can, that hold you and cup you and make you feel wonderful, instead of just the ones that you like. So that's what I mean by
Okay.
underspending.
Gotcha.
That
Gotcha. Just want to clarify
they,
that.
yeah, they don't give themselves the quality of life at the level that they're at. Right. I'm
Gotcha.
not saying to go above where they are, but they're not even taking care of themselves in the basic ways, for fear they won't have money, or that spending the money, they don't think it's valuable, that the money is more valuable than the exchange of service. And a lot
Gotcha.
of times it may not be.
Gotcha. Thank you for that clarification,
Yeah.
because they are different things, and
Oh,
I think of the person who maybe, I mean, I'll just say it, maybe they can afford to go. Well, we're not going to say Target right now, but they can
yeah.
afford to go to a store like that. But
Right,
instead of going there, they're like, I'm gonna get everything from the dollar store
right,
because
right.
it's like, yeah.
Or that another way to look at it is like, the only reason you buy it is because of price. Instead of
Mm,
looking at the other things around, like, I need it for quality. I need, I like it. Like, some people buy things because they're the cheapest. They don't last. They don't use them. And then
right,
when you add those things up, you could have just bought one or two good things that you actually enjoy. But it's the initial sense of loss of money that makes them feel that way, which they learn from people around them. So it's just making
right.
them realize that of all the money that you save, you can afford this, and it would actually add value to your life.
Absolutely. I like that. I like that. It
Mhm.
also makes me think of a friend of mine. Her husband grew up where his family didn't have money, and a lot of times they couldn't
Mhm.
eat. So every time there's like one of these trunk sales or truck sales where you can like buy a whole bunch of stuff, he's there and he's getting as much as he can. Where you go in their house and it looks like a warehouse, and
Right.
that's because he's dealing. It might not be money specifically, but it kind of sort of is.
Yeah.
So now he's hoarding food because he doesn't ever want to not have food because he
Exactly.
grew up not having food. So
Exactly.
things like that. Things
And
like that.
realizing he's no longer a child anymore, and that's not
Right.
his situation. Yeah,
Right.
that's powerful. And
Yeah.
you have empathy for that, but you also want to show them that that's not your story.
Right.
anymore. Hmm.
Right. Right. So, well, we talked about the naming your bank account, so that's
Hmm.
important. One of the things I also like that you talk about in this section is talking about scheduling dates with your money, and
Hmm.
that's something I'm sure a lot of people are like, ooh.
Yeah, yeah. Scheduling dates with money is when you getting to know somebody, don't you want to date them? You know, go out, get to know them, see how they're doing. Similarly, you want to get to know like how is your money going? And for some of us, that it may be the first time that we ever sat down and said, "Well, how much money do I make like after taxes? I don't even know." Okay, cool. And then that might just be enough just to figure out, okay, that now I know. And then you can, have another date where like, okay, how much am I spending in
Mhm.
relation to how much I earn? And then let me see what I'm spending on. Do I even like all this stuff now that I have a better understanding of my values? And then you can realize, oh, saving is a lot easier because I even like 2 to 3 items on here, like these line
Right.
items that are monthly subscriptions. I'm not even using them. I could save that money or I could use it for something else without spending more. Or for
Mhm.
the oversaver, they may realize that they may think that they're overspending and there's nothing on in their budget. And the
Right.
things that they have a list of things that maybe they're saving or that they want to do, they can start slowly incorporating one or two within, like, say, a budget of like, I'm going to give myself X amount of fun money. So if they have fun money, they can spend it without feeling guilt or shame or regret. And
Mhm.
so having these money dates moves then from this separate experience of my money's here, my life is here, to like, I actually curious. I have a curiosity. I actually have opinions. I actually have new decisions that I want to make based on all the things that are important to me at this time. And then ultimately, there's certain things that you can put on, and you can other people you can involve in your money date once you have a clear understanding of it, which
Right.
includes a financial advisor or a money coach. So these people can also give you some direction when you feel that you're stumped or that you're ready for more complexity or more, to grow your money and you want support around it.
I love that. That's good stuff.
Hmm.
While we're there, because we talked about this, I mentioned this before we came
Hmm.
on, talking about growing your money and, which can be either through investing and growing it that way.
Hmm.
It could be through just earning more or,
Yeah.
building a business or a side
Hmm.
hustle or,
Yeah.
getting new positions or raises on the job.
Hmm.
There are sometimes people that have, when you start talking about wealth building, and
Hmm.
having more, sometimes even that is a part of the relationship with money that needs to be healed, because there's some people who, yeah, they want to have enough to live, but they think that having above a certain amount is somehow negative.
Right. I think when people think about wealth, they think about kind of egregious experiences with wealth, like the Jeff Bezoses of the world or the Elon Musk, where they are actually exploiting other people in order to have their wealth. Right.
Mm,
And I'm going to even say that here, and y'all don't cancel me, but even like we see Beyonce and Rihanna, they're now billionaires, but the way that some of their businesses earned their money was through exploitation of labor in the global south, right? Not paying fair wages. So that's
mhm,
a different set of wealth.
mm,
And I think that is unfair, right? What I'm talking about in terms of wealth is enough money in the system that we live in, that as you get older and more vulnerable and you have less social supports, you're going to want to live at the rate that you're living, if not better, but not worse. And so
mm,
that's why investing is important, right? Investing is important, not for you to take more than your fair share. And I think that's the mindset that a lot of us have, because we've been traditionally locked out of opportunities to build wealth. And we see that
right,
there's been exploitation and, just
mhm,
systemic, um, you know, grabs at wealth. No, that is not what I'm talking about. If you have a 9 to 5
mm,
and you plan to live life and you have the blessing of being 67 and retiring, and you don't want to work or will no longer and you don't have to work, you're going to need money to sustain you, right?
Absolutely.
And your job offers you one source of income that is going to sustain you when you no longer have an income. And then you're also going to have, so that's going to be your retirement accounts, whether it be your 401k, 403b, TDA, and then the IRAs, the Roth or traditional, that allow you to be able to sustain and protect yourself in life, right? Second is non-retirement brokerage accounts, which are if you are living in America or any place that you need money, but especially in America
Mhm.
where there's less social supports, like if you don't pay your rent, you're going to be out, right? You're going to
Right.
have you'll have maybe a couple of supports, but you're going to be out, right?
Hmm.
As you get older, your health may wane. The average amount of healthcare costs for people in their 60s um, during retirement is over $150,000 that they're, over the course of their retirement. You don't want to not be able to support yourself
Right.
when your health actually dwindles. So what I'm not talking about is a cash grab where you're taking more than you're supposed to have. These are systems in place so that you maintain, if anything, the lifestyle that you have. And
Right.
the other thing too is that if you've been able to obtain your wealth through a 9 to 5, I promise you, you're not exploiting anybody, right? Because
Right. They're
wage,
exploiting you still.
right, right. 'Cause wages, by definition, are lower than the value that you offer the
Right.
business.
Right.
So if you think
Mhm.
that you out here at the levels of, unfair wages, environmental hazards to society, that's not you.
Right.
You're not that. You're not that level of wealth. What I'm saying is you don't want to retire in poverty, which
Right.
a lot of Black women do, right?
Right.
We don't save. We have these mindsets that somebody will provide when we actually have systems that we can slowly but surely continue to contribute to that will be able to sustain us in our older years, and even have with a non-brokerage account money to have fun with. Because here's my thing, Marcy, how can we talk about this is why when I have conversations with my community, how can you say you want to live your best life, but then you kind of disparage this idea of wealth? What
Right.
you want to spend money on stuff, you need money.
Right.
So let's kind of like make it a little bit more congruent. Like you don't want to exploit people, but building the
Right.
wealth that we're talking about, you're going to be far from exploiting
Right.
anybody.
Exactly. And I love that you say that because again, there are people who think that they're like, oh, my father, he's passed away a few years ago, but he
Mhm.
would always say to me, you want to make as much as you can because it just affords opportunities, and I'm a person who's naturally a giver. I'm that person who
Mhm.
wants to be, philanthropic,
Yeah.
and he's like,
Mhm.
the more you have, the more you
Right.
can
Yeah.
give,
Right.
so it's not
Right.
that, okay, I'm just throwing out a number. Now I'm
Yeah.
making, $300,000 a year and I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy the fanciest car or,
Right.
start buying the biggest house or whatever. Be like, no,
Right.
that gives me more money than if I want to support whatever
Right.
organization or individual and I want to do
Right.
that, I can do that and do it with ease
Right.
versus either not being able to do it at all
Right.
or doing it and it becomes something that is later problematic for me because maybe I really couldn't afford to do it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think the larger conversation is when you think about wealth, what are 3 words that come to you? That would be a more interesting conversation to ask those people, because what images come to you? Because if it means being able to continue to like see my friends, to have good health, to buy the things and the treats that I enjoy when I no longer am working, and if you're mixing that up with wealth, then that's another conversation to have. And then maybe it's a number. I think it's sorry, last thing is just like I think it's important for us to actually run the numbers,
Mhm.
because typically to live in America and have a comfortable retirement where you're living at the same rate that you were, you need at least like $1.2 million saved. So a lot of us are not going to have that. So if we can't not going to have that, the next best thing is to have as much as we can so we
Right.
can sustain ourselves.
Right, I love that. In the last week or
Mhm.
last section of the book, you talk about tactical systems and structures. The first thing you talk about, which is very interesting to me, trigger is a big word
Mhm.
for a lot of people, but money triggers.
Mhm.
Okay, and
Yes.
yes, 20. Yeah, that's been my focus. That's actually my
Oh yeah.
soror.
Ah,
We'll make sure you get the information, soror.
yeah.
But
Um,
yeah,
yeah.
triggers.
Yeah, triggers are huge. So let's just say we're in the top of the year. If people are triggering women who have insecurities around their appearance, Ozempic, all types of weight loss drugs, gyms and personal trainers and things like that. Similarly, when it comes to times of year or people that we're around, those have they impact our emotions. I had a girlfriend who recently bought a home, and she's living in the home alone. And one of the things that she mentioned was buying Amazon packages because she has something to look forward to, right?
Mhm.
So loneliness, boredom, those things can trigger us to shop more than necessary, right? Or even not even just more than necessary on things we don't even really want or really
Right.
desire. It's just to feel something in the moment. And
Mhm.
so there's some people that you feel like you have to compete with. And
Mhm.
so you may spend more just being in their presence or not put a financial boundary down. There may be family members that always have some idea that they want you to go half on or co-sign, and then there goes your savings. So,
Right.
times of year, times of the day, sometimes you're lonely at night. Like I said, certain festivals, certain times of the year, like say losing a parent. Um, some of us may find that they want to buy things to remember them, or they want to kind of close the loop on unfinished things. Like there's so many things that may trigger us to um, spend. And I
Mhm.
think it's important for us to offer ourselves compassion while still observing the ultimate impact of this pattern of behavior, and realizing that with help, support, and self-awareness, that it can change, that buying those things are not going to make the person come back. Buying that thing temporarily can give me a dopamine shot, but I'll still be back to feeling lonely. So rather than buying something, maybe I should call a friend or go out, or
Mhm.
use my resources to connect with people. So
Mhm.
it's all data and important information for us to understand ourselves without critical analysis and criticism, I should say, or being overly critical. It's really important for us to observe, take the data, see the truth, but leave any type of harsh conclusions, because you're still a work in progress.
Right, right. And I just put up the comment. I don't know if you saw it, but I wake up in the middle of the night and start shopping. So I'm
Mm,
like, okay, and this is my head after reading your book, right? It's like,
yeah,
okay, yeah, you wake up in the middle of the night and start shopping, but what is triggering you to wake up in the middle of the
mhm,
night to make you feel like you have to shop?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I guess that's just working through that process of healing that relationship.
yeah. Like what feeling? Like, what are you trying? Like, and sometimes, like, if you shop and put it in the cart and not press purchase, maybe that's enough of the sensation. Just the idea of like kind of looking and seeing, you're virtually touching, but you're not buying. That might be enough until you can kind of simultaneously unpack the actual feeling and what the need is, and then giving yourself what you need. Because maybe what you need, is companionship. Maybe you need to like go for a walk. Maybe there's so many different things I wouldn't be able to tell you, but normally it's not in that purchase of that thing.
Right. And I am good for because I know we talk about Amazon. People have their feelings
Mhm,
about Amazon, but it is what
mhm,
it is. A lot of us still
mhm.
shop there, right?
Yeah,
But I am good with, oh, I'm thinking about a new, I'll just say widget for lack of anything
yeah,
else.
yeah,
And I'll go and I'll look, and I will put it in the cart and then I'll hit save for later.
yeah. That's great. It
I
gives you a hint.
that I go before I go back to it, but it's like, okay, at least I figured out what I want. So once I decide if I really want it or not, it's saved there. All I gotta do is click add to cart and do it then versus like, ooh, I want it. It's exciting. Da, da, da,
Yep.
whatever.
No, I think that's actually a great practice because you're not denying yourself the looking. You
Right.
just holding, you're just delaying the purchasing to see if you actually need it. And I think
Right.
that gives you good information and good data to reflect on.
And sometimes stuff goes on sale doing that, but
Right. It goes a couple dollars down.
Right. Oh, I need to stay off IG. I see these things that look just appealing at 3 a.m. Yeah, I guess it's IG and TikTok shop, all that stuff. And I'm not really on TikTok like that, so I am not motivated by that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do understand. Well, the other thing that I do is if it's something from Amazon, I will like just save it, as I said. Or if it's something that I do see on IG and it's like, oh, oh, this is beautiful, because I love Afrocentric stuff. I love Black right? So instead of maybe buying right then, I'll go to the page and get on their email list. So at least now I kind of see stuff is going on, and then maybe that dress that I saw on IG, they might put it on sale later again. Yeah. So I do it, but I try to be a little bit more strategic about it.
Yeah. Or you could also, like, for things that I guess there's a final point about that is whatever you're not using, you can sell, so it can go toward that fund, right? I doubt that you're using everything that you might have purchased, and you want something new, so take out something old and you can sell it, or still get rid of it to not clutter your space. Or there's also swaps and mutual aid. It's a thing, like, you don't have to go and buy it. You can ask, can I borrow it, especially in your circle. And I think that's another piece that we sometimes forget, that we automatically go to Amazon for a book. Well, I want you to get my book because it's not in stores. I mean, it's not in libraries, but going to libraries for books that are there, versus, buying or asking for a Lyft versus getting an Uber. Those are kinds of ways we still build community and save on expenses if we do it for each other. So it feels there's a sense of reciprocity.
Well, I'll just share this last comment because we're going to be wrapping up here in just a moment. Okay. So it's like there's no feeling. I just have no control. That's what you're working on. I guess the feeling is, since I have it, why not buy it instead of investing it? And because I know this person personally, I'm like, she has control, because I mean, this girl, she loves to work out. The body is banging, right? So she does the right things for that. So I guess it's just taking the same mindset about her physical being. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Yeah. The same mindset towards your physical being, and maybe applying it in terms of financial things. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah. I'll be curious to be like, well, what makes you think you're out of control? And especially for someone that is so controlled in other aspects of their life. So that'd be an interesting conversation.
But we are not going to psychoanalyze you today, Sora, I promise.
No. I'm just saying.
Food for thought. Oh, she saw all the workout clothes she has with tags on it. So, okay. Yeah. Yes. But thank you so much. And of course, the book, you talk about setting up your money space and, affirmations around money and all that. So, Karen, I definitely suggest that you get this book and, work through those 28 days. And because we've had this conversation and I know you, I'm going to ask you, like, okay, did you work through it? But I just wanted to ask you, Kara, as we are preparing to wrap up, I know that a lot of people, again, are thinking about, 2026 goals and beyond. And, there's always stuff happening in the world. There's always stuff happening in the economy that we need to be mindful of. Is there anything in particular that you think, whether it's healing our relationship or just thinking about money matters, that we can think about in this year?
Well, I think last year showed us that there was like a $600,000 Black women exited the workforce, right? So I think that with that being said, if you are at a job and you sense that there may be some writing on the wall, make sure that you're taking the opportunities to not leave empty-handed, I would say. So making sure that you are maximizing on whatever HSA you have, whatever 401k that you have, making sure that all of your financial ducks are in order. that you are advocating for yourself if there are opportunities for raises, and then investing that money. I would also say making sure too that if you still do have a 9 to 5 and you still have a passion for a side hustle, use this time very wisely to begin it. The Frugal Feminista was a side hustle when I was a school teacher and a school administrator, and then it became a full-time position once I was able to move forward. I would also say for 2026, time is a construct. So whatever you didn't finish in 2025 and you wanted to finish it, let that be the goal for you in 2026. But set the accountability, the time to actually get to complete it, and also asking people that can support you, whether it be through a structured program or coaching or any type of, even if say like a debt relief program that offers support. Make sure that you're not doing it alone, especially if finances are a challenge for you. This is not the time to put on your cape. This is a time to take it off and be held and supported to the finish line. So I would say that, because everyone's finances are different, but I would say those fundamentals remain the same.
Thank you for that, Kara. I appreciate that. Now, of course, people are going to pick up this book and read it and work through the 28 days. But what other types of programs and things do you offer? Because I know you had the Frugal Feminista Tribe. You've done the Stop the Spend Challenge. Maybe Karen needs that one. You have some self-study courses and things like that. So what are other ways that people can learn from you or work with you?
So right now we are opening up, we're in the last weeks of our Debt-Free Society, which is an 8-week accountability and group coaching program around getting you out of debt. And it is an amazing support and container to kind of have similar conversations that are trauma-informed, culturally resonating around you getting out of debt. So we do all the things: net worth analysis, debt elimination on a weekly basis, savings goals, and we hold you accountable. I'm there, I'm equal parts spiritual and kind of let's go, strategist. And I think if you're looking for that type of support, the Debt-Free Society is a great program for you. And I would also say, just in general, I have a Heal Your Relationship with Money course. So if you wanted to take this and go deeper, I have that. And finally, I have one-on-one coaching. So I do Heal Your Relationship with Money course coaching, where we go deep into your money mindset, but it always ends up similar to the book, with practical structures and strategies and systems that allow you to actually build wealth.
Love it. I love it. And Karen says she just started following you. So yes, please follow. Go to the website, all those things. There are some of the other resources, and access to those courses are there. Of course, social media is also, you're always going to keep up, let us know what things are coming up and things like that, so that we can tap into those things. But I do, have to let you know that I made the book available in the Brown Girl Collective bookstore, which is just that. browngirlcollectivebookstore.com. You have other places that you can buy it online, but it is also available there. And of course, that supports the work that's being done here. We talk about those multiple streams. Hey, help a sister out if you can. Yeah. We're all in this thing together. So I want to make sure that people get a hold of it, because as I said earlier on, a lot of us do have these different goals or aspirations that are financially based. But if we don't deal with things like our mindset and really understand, how we've thought about money in the past, how we need to think about money going forward and all of that, get your mind right. We hear that a lot, right? Get your mind right. So these are some of the things that can help us to get our mind right. So yeah, I know you missed a midday live. That's not normal. It's not normal, but you can always go back and pick it up. But Kara is so important, and I know she's over in Ghana, and I'm like, I didn't want her to be up at 2:00 in the morning or 3 in the morning. So that's why we're doing this earlier. But please do go back and make sure that you catch up on it and watch the whole thing, and more importantly, grab a copy of the book and or follow online. So thank you so much for being here. Normally I have a big spiel before I log off. Today I don't really have one. I'm just happy for everyone that was able to join live. And for those who watch later, please pick up the resources and do the following and all of those good things so you can have this great information. And Kara, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for taking this time. I would love to have you come back and talk about more stuff in the future. If that you're game for that, that would be
Yeah, I
really
love that.
appreciated. And so I look forward to that. But I'm gonna hang up on them, but I don't want you to hang up. So
Okay.
everybody else, we will see you again here real soon. And you all take good care and continue to live well. All right, see you all soon. All righty. 1 second here. All righty.